أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صدق الله العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everybody who's here and whoever will be listening to this in the future, inshallah. What I'm going to be doing today, presenting a very brief and basic approach to the pandemic that's been going on. And I want really for people here who are not fully aware of the situation, but those who are kind of questioning and thinking about it, it's really for them. And I want to sort of increase some kind of awareness and awakeness in them, inshallah. So that's what this program is about. So it's basic. So those of you who know everything about it, I'm sorry to bore you. Maybe something might be of interest to you, but really it's for those who are at the beginning stages of questioning what's going on, because it's been going on for long enough, inshallah. But let's get through it and let's see what happens, inshallah. So questions around the pandemic is what I'd like to entitle this, and really it's just that. It's about asking questions, and I'm not going to provide too many solutions. I'm just wanting for people to start to ask questions, because that's the beginning of realization, and realization is what we need to wake people up as to what is going on. And inshallah, if we need to, we will continue with further programs, and we'll start to look at solutions and look at what is really going on underneath and see how deep the rabbit hole goes, as they say. So almost a year ago now, we were told that there was a virus called coronavirus, which had infected people in England, and there was a need to contain it. To do this, we needed to have a period of 2 weeks only, where we all stay at home and isolate within our homes. This would flatten the curve, and the rate of infection and spread would go down. Thereafter, we could all return to normal life. So there was no real problem. We all followed suit, and we did as we were told. Everybody went home. We packed up our businesses, our workplaces, etc., and we all stayed indoors for 2 weeks. Yet here we are, almost a year later, in our third lockdown, and there seems no end in sight. To be honest, I was suspicious of what we were told from the first lockdown, because we were told that the elderly were most vulnerable and children were immune carriers. Okay, that sort of made some kind of sense. And then the schools were shut, which didn't make any sense. This does not make any sense to me in the sense that why close schools and thereby have children in their homes for longer with their grandparents? If the children were okay, they didn't really get sick, they were okay, they were just carriers, it would make sense to keep them at school. In fact, you would extend the school hours, get them to do after-school activities, so there's less time at home, on the one hand, and on the other hand, giving the grandparents in their homes more time away from the children, so that by the time the children come home, the grandparents are, as usually their habits are, they want to go to sleep, so they can just stay in their rooms and go to sleep. That would sort of make sense. But that's not what happened. The schools were closed. Children came home. Further to this, although schools were shut, children of key workers could still attend. They could still go to school. So if schools are shut because of the spread of virus needs to be contained, and schools was now suddenly a major source of the spread, why allow the children of key workers to attend? Because that's a lot of children in some areas where there's a lot of key workers. Generally across the country, it meant practically every single school had to be open for the sake of even a handful of children. Didn't make sense to me. So now I invite you to look at what else we are being told. I will not say these are lies. That I leave to your judgment. I want you to decide that. I want you to hear it out, and I want you to think for yourself, and I want you to bring up issues in your own mind as well, inshallah, in time. I simply invite you to take a look and judge for yourself. I especially ask the ulama, those who, like myself, they've studied the Dars in Nizamiya and have a special connection to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I ask for you, let us fulfill our responsibility and not let this ummah down. And alhamdulillah, I do have quite a few ulama with me on this. They are aware of this and they've given it its blessings. We've been planning this together for some weeks, and I've finally put this together, and they're aware of it, inshallah, that I am presenting this today to you, inshallah. So I want to begin by asking a few questions. Questions that have been on the minds of many, questions that you may have on your mind, questions that need answering but have not been, at least not satisfactorily. You may find a few responses, but it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. So these are questions that need to be asked in that case. So I want to question the narrative first. The narrative is what we're being told, that this is what's going on, and this is why we have to do the things, and this is what we have to do, and this is why we have to do it. Okay, well, let's put a few questions there. Now, we had this coronavirus and we had lockdowns. Okay, my question, and I'm sure many others think the same. Why did we never have a lockdown for Ebola, for SARS, etc.? I mean, these all happened recently, not 100 years ago, recently, in the last year or two, quite a few of these and others. And even in their own countries of origin, there was no lockdown. We had Ebola, no lockdown. We had SARS, no lockdown. I remember even further back, we had things like salmonella poisoning, mad cow disease, etc. No lockdown. So why do we have a lockdown now? Why didn't we have a lockdown for them? Those diseases at that time, they were also, SARS is just the same as corona. It's a virus, airborne disease. Why didn't we have a lockdown? No mention of it. Why are decent, intelligent doctors being silenced? Any doctor that speaks out about this and disagrees is being silenced. Those who do not speak up, amongst them are many who have been told categorically that if they do say anything against the narrative, they will be dismissed. Why? I thought we were a democratic society. I thought people were able to voice their opinions and there was no problem with that. Why are there empty hospitals? We know that many appointments are also cancelled or on hold in any case. So what are these hospitals empty for? If we have a pandemic, they should be full. Yes, we're seeing pictures of hospitals that are full, but we're also seeing pictures of hospitals that are empty. And you can't really make those up because they're made by independent people, independent of one another at independent times and locations around the world for that matter. We have footage from England, from Spain, from Italy, from New York, empty hospitals. What's going on? Could it be that you empty certain hospitals in order to overload other hospitals and it looks very busy? Could that be? I don't know. It's just a suggestion. It's just a suggestion. Why masks if distancing works? We had two strategies. Distancing, that works. You can't catch the virus from over 2 meters away. And why distancing if the masks work? It doesn't make sense. We have to wear both the mask and we have to have distancing. Either one of which we've been told categorically works. But why do both? Why washing our hands, etc., for 20 seconds if masks and distancing work? Why did we bring in washing? Why were schools closed for all students except key workers, the children of key workers? Where is the logic and science in this? I come back to this point because I want to question the science. Where's the science in this? Is the virus not going to attack key worker children? Or if they go home to their grandparents, they're okay to do so? That doesn't make any sense. Why is the statement of the inventor of the PCR tests, which are being used worldwide, and his statement is on record, he said that his test is not to detect COVID-19 or any virus. Why is this statement being ignored? He said this and he actually died in 2019, just before the outbreak. But he said categorically that for any virus, it's not a test to detect the virus. It's a test to detect debris in the body from previous illnesses. So basically, if you have a PCR test and it's positive, it could mean any number of illnesses that you had, even something you had measles or mumps when you were a child, and you may still have some debris of that in your body. It'll pick that up. It comes out positive. Hence, there's so many negative positives as well, or false positives, as they call them. Has COVID-19 even been isolated? No. So how has a vaccine been developed? I mean, this defies logic. If the virus has not been isolated, you need the virus in order to develop something that's anti to it. But we have a vaccine, we have no virus. Further to this, hang on. So all these lockdowns and their impact was done when there is no virus at the center of it? That's like condemning somebody for murder and no body was uncovered. No law court would do that in the world. You need a body to show the victim in order to condemn the murderer. And here we have a similar situation. There is no virus that has been isolated, but we've been going through all the motions of acting like it was. Why weren't the elderly and the vulnerable only isolated, allowing the economy to continue? The economy has suffered so much, and many of you know this, yet the elderly and the vulnerable were the only ones who were, because the elderly would have underlying condition, and the vulnerable, because they already were in some kind of medical condition, would be prone to the virus. Isolate them. We have plenty of old folks' homes, put them in there, or hospital wards being isolated for them. Why didn't we do something like that? Where is the strategy coming from? This is just basic logic, which many people have asked about. Why is it called a pandemic when millions have not died compared to actual pandemics historically? And I'll talk about the flu pandemic shortly, inshallah, but that's what a pandemic does. It kills people in the millions. We are not seeing that happening at all. We are not seeing that happening at all. So far, we've had hundreds or thousands. And yes, it's bad news anyway, but the point is, it's not a pandemic. So why are we calling it a pandemic? If deaths are actually from underlying conditions which are exacerbated by the COVID-19, and people without underlying conditions survive, then COVID-19 is not so deadly. Is it then? If a person tests positive for COVID-19 but has no symptoms and is perfectly healthy, this person then dies a few days later in a car accident, why is his death listed as a COVID-19 death? And not just that, any accident, any way that person dies, it's listed as COVID-19 death. Why is that? Just because they tested positive, and it was up to 65 days, then they brought it down to 40 days. Now I think it's 28 days. It doesn't matter even if it's one day. The point is, if the man dies or woman dies from a gunshot or a car accident or whatever, heart attack, why is it listed as a COVID-19 death? Why not use plasma from an ex-COVID-19 patient which has immunity through antibodies in it for infected persons, i.e. a blood transfusion? The person who's had it is not going to get it again. That's useful blood. We can have a transfusion or use that. Why develop a vaccine? Why are used masks discarded on the streets with no concern for their being contagious or spreaders of the virus? If the COVID-19 vaccine was produced in a short time because of new methods and cutting red tape, that's what I was told myself personally by a medic, due to its urgent need in the community, why did we not do this for other illnesses then? So many people are dying from cancer, from diabetes, etc. Why didn't we cut red tape and do this for them as well, for those illnesses? And if we're going to say, well, actually, this was a pandemic, so-called, and those weren't, all right, fair enough. Why are we not doing it for other illnesses now? If we didn't have the technology or the ability or the resources, because that's another argument, why are we not doing it for other illnesses now? Now that we do have the resources, now that we do know how to do it. Why is hydroxychloroquine being blocked when it is an alternative that has been shown to be effective? Why is it being blocked? It doesn't make any sense. Why would medics block something that's been shown to work? Why do we need so many police officers? And this is where I'm questioning the police actions now. Why do we need so many police officers just to shut a gym? And I'm sure you've all seen the footage of 40 police officers standing around doing nothing, and one or two are engaging the owner of the gym, and all that to what? To shut a gym? Why? Who's catching all the criminals all of a sudden? I mean, I thought we had a police shortage. Wasn't that out in the news a year ago too? How are we able to have a police officer in each of the many supermarket stores? Again, who's catching the criminals? And I had a personal run-in myself. I went into a superstore to buy something, and a police officer is coming up to me and telling me to put on my mask. And I'm thinking, well, what are you doing in the police? There's two police officers outside the store, one inside the store, confronting me. And the security guard of the organization of the supermarket is there as well. Now, why isn't it his job? Why are we using police to tell people to do this? Is it a correct use of police duty to enforce the public to wear masks? Is that the best they can do? They're supposed to catch criminals, keep the peace. Why are so many fines being handed out? And why are they set so high? £1,000? £10,000? For visiting your parents? Why? I also asked a senior mufti the following question, because I thought, let's just take it across to the ulama. Let's have a look what is being said here. So I addressed these issues with a senior mufti. Here's the almost transcript, if you like, of my conversation with him. Have we ever had plagues in the time of the Salaf? I asked him, in the time of the Sahaba Ikram and the Tabi'in, Taba Tabi'in, the first 3 generations. Have we ever had plagues in the time of the Salaf? I asked him. Yes, he said. Did they close all the masajid? I asked. No, he said. Has the Haram, the Kaaba, the Masjid Haram, and Masjid Nabawi in Medina ever been closed on account of plague? No, he said. Did the Salaf ever social distance in Salah during plague? No, he said. What about those within the region of the plague? I mean, you know, you're supposed to stay out of the plague area. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, don't go into the plague, and those who are in the plague area stay in the area, don't come out of the area. So those who are in the area, let's say it was Baghdad or some place like, you know, any city, any town, did they do any social distancing because they were all affected? No, he said. Did the Salaf ever wear masks or face coverings in Salah during plague? No, he said. So why are we ordering our community to do all this now? Because the experts have said so, was the answer. Since when did Muslims concede the law of Allah Ta'ala to the laws of any experts? Is what I would like to ask. As our ulama are adamant about these experts, I was curious. So let's hear from the experts. And who better than the head of the World Experts Organization, the World Health Organization. So let's have a look at what the World Health Organization says about coronavirus and subsequent strategies. First of all, I looked at the website, and you can all do this. Please do go, don't just believe me, go and look at yourself. What happens to people who get COVID-19? This is the World Health Organization. They say amongst those who develop symptoms, most, about 80%, recover from the disease without needing hospital treatment. Whoa, what? Recover from the disease without needing hospital treatment. About 15% become seriously ill and require oxygen, and 5% become critically ill and need intensive care. So 80% recover without needing hospital treatment? Amazing. Next question. Is there a vaccine for COVID-19? Yes, they said. There are 3 COVID-19 vaccines for which certain national regulatory authorities have authorized the use. None have yet received WHO or EULPQ authorization, but we expect an assessment on the Pfizer vaccine by the end of December. Wait a minute. None of the vaccines have been approved? Let's go down to the 3rd paragraph. Once vaccines are demonstrated to be safe and efficacious, they must be approved by national regulators, manufactured to exacting standards, and distributed. Who is working with partners around the world to help coordinate key steps in this process? And they have yet to be demonstrated to be safe, did you say? Something not right here. Okay, let's have a look at the numbers. Let's have a look at the numbers now. Let's get, you know, maths, numbers don't lie. Numbers don't quite care about your feelings. Who was it that said facts don't care about feelings? I'd like to bring that in today. Numbers don't care about feelings. Numbers are not conspiracy theories. Numbers are fact, mathematics. You can't mess with mathematics. Okay. Confirmed cases, 105 million. This is worldwide. 105 million confirmed cases of coronavirus in the world. Number of deaths confirmed, 2 million. 2 million. Okay, let's put that into perspective for you. So that's 2 people dying from every 105. Are you kidding me? Is this a pandemic? You got 2 people dying from every 105. Yes? I want you to think about this. Okay, catching COVID-19 does not mean you will have it for life. Okay, most of the people who catch COVID-19 can recover and eliminate the virus from their bodies. If you catch the disease, make sure you treat your symptoms. If you have cough, fever, difficult breathing, seek medical care early, but call your health facility by telephone first. Okay, most patients recover thanks to supportive care. Wait a minute. So why are those who have had it and recovered still required to wear masks and practice social distancing if they eliminate the virus from their bodies? And why should they isolate on having had a contact with a carrier? Because they now have immunity. So why are they having to do this? Right, people should not wear masks while exercising. Okay, I got that. People should not wear masks when exercising. Makes sense. Okay, good. So that can make the mask more wet and sticky, etc. It makes it difficult to breathe. Promotes growth of microorganisms. Okay, good. Well done. Oh, hang on. This is from Oxford. Oxford University, joggers should wear face masks when running past others, scientists say. There is no doubt the virus is in the air. There is no doubt you can catch it if you inhale, says University of Oxford professor. Wow. So which expert should we believe? And I hope my ulama are looking at this. Which expert should we believe now? We have our favorite word here. It's called ikhtilaf. Right. Yeah. Who reveals the leading causes of death, right? The World Health Organization reveals the leading causes of death and disability worldwide from 2000 to 2019, right? In the last 20 years. I know what you're thinking. Coronavirus, number one. Yeah? Okay, let's have a look. What? Heart disease. Heart disease has remained the leading cause of death at the global level for the last 20 years. Hang on, we're in a pandemic. However, it's now killing more people than ever before. What? The number of deaths from heart disease increased by more than 2 million since 2000 to nearly 9 million in 2019. Okay. So what about COVID-19? It's not on the list. As of today, COVID-19 has tragically killed more than 1.5 million lives. Okay, so that's your world total. Okay, that's your world total, 1.5 million lives. Now, bear in mind, the people are dying from car accidents, etc., and still being listed as COVID. So that's not an accurate figure. But I'm gonna go with them. 1.5 million lives of people dying. It says people living with pre-existing health conditions such as heart disease, diabetes, respiratory conditions, etc., are at higher risk of complications and death due to COVID-19. So it wasn't exactly COVID, then, was it? Now, I want to look at this. This is anybody can Google. This is on. This is in. The government website, yeah? This is for notifiable diseases. Weekly reports for 2021, okay? I want everybody to pay attention to this. Notifiable diseases weekly reports for 2021. Okay, here we go. Look at this. Now, here we have all the COVID deaths in England, city by city. Look at this. We have Amber Valley was about 72, they say. 2 in Bath, 10 in Birmingham. Only 10. We had serious lockdowns in Birmingham, 10 people died. 2 in Bradford, 1 in Bromley, 1 in Collar. I mean, I don't want to go down the list, have a look for yourselves, right? So what we've got here, wait a minute, the total number of deaths from COVID-19 is 145. The total number of deaths from COVID-19 is what? 145? We've got 145 deaths from COVID-19 in England and we're in a 3rd lockdown? Right. Let's have a look at the NHS staff because they're all rolling out the vaccine for the NHS staff. Almost a quarter of NHS staff in some parts of the country are refusing COVID jabs, with official statistics showing more than 200,000, with official statistics showing 200,000 health and care workers, okay? They're refusing it. 200,000 care workers are refusing the jab. In total, more than 41,000 frontline healthcare workers in the capital, London, including medics, hospital porters, cleaners, and laboratory staff, have not had the jab. The national picture amongst care home staff is even worse. The statistics show that around 106,000 frontline healthcare staff and more than 121,000 care workers have yet to take up the vaccine. Really? Why are the experts refusing the vaccine? Okay, we have the World Doctors Alliance. I don't know if anybody knows about this, but please Google it and go and look at their website. This is an independent non-profit alliance of doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals, and staff around the world who have united in the wake of the COVID-19 response chapter to share experiences with a view to ending all lockdowns and related damaging measures to re-establish universal health determinants of psychological and physical well-being for all humanity. In effect, basically, if you go to this site, you'll see they're saying that the whole thing is, it's bogus. It's not real. They're saying there's no need for lockdowns. There's no need for all these masks and everything. They're saying it's just another flu bug and variant of flu, and the elderly and the vulnerable should be looked at and isolated, not the rest of the population. And it's amazing. Have a look. Now, these are doctors, world-class doctors from around the world, all coming together. They've had to do this. Why? Because they've been silent. Many of these people have been sacked from their practices. For what? For disagreeing with the narrative. This does not sound right. Why are we not listening to these experts? Again, our ulama talk about experts. Well, we've got experts here, thousands of them. There are thousands on this website, doctors around the world. And many of them have hundreds of thousands of patients who have been going to them for their lives and had life-saving surgery and treatment, etc. They were trusted and respected then. Why are they not trusted and respected now? I ask our people particularly, please, why are we not listening to these people? Why are we not listening to these ulama, to these scholars, to these experts? Now, this is important. Here is your cause of mortality from 1990 to 2020. This is a registry of deaths registered in England, okay? It goes from 1990 all the way to 2020, which is just the year gone. And look at the deaths. Here they are. From here, look at the deaths, right? Just look at the deaths and look at the numbers. More people died in 1995 and 96 than 2020. Have a look, just above the bubble here. There you go, right? 565,000 in 1995, 563,000 in 1996, and have a look at 2020 here, 561. We have 565 and 563 died in 1995, 96. There was no pandemic. And if you look at the numbers, they steadily increase in about 20, 30,000 per year. So this increase of 30,000 over the year means nothing. It's definitely not a pandemic. What's going on? And as for a pandemic, let me talk to you about a pandemic. Let me remind you and let me inform you if you don't know of a proper pandemic. The Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. The Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 was a proper pandemic. Hundreds of thousands of people died in every single country. Hundreds of thousands of people died in every single country. This was declared a national global pandemic. And I'll give you the figures here. The figures for COVID and the figures for the pandemic of Spanish flu, so you can see for yourself. Corona, 58,000 deaths in the US. Okay, 58,000 deaths in the US. And again, always bear in mind what I said to you before, that if you have tested positive and you die of a car accident or something, you're still counted as a COVID death. So although this 58,000 is a big figure, death is death. At the end of the day, it's not pleasant for anybody to lose loved ones. Point is, not all of this was Corona to begin with anyway. But I'm going to, for the sake of argument, let's say it's 58,000 for Corona. In America, for Spanish flu, 675,000 deaths. Confirmed deaths by Spanish flu in their beds in hospital. They died. They didn't die of a car accident. Confirmed deaths. Worldwide, 218,000 people died in Corona. 280,000 they're saying. Okay, 218,000. 50 million died from the Spanish flu. Is everybody seeing this? Do we understand what I'm talking about here? 50 million. That means that if that happened with the COVID pandemic today, every one of us should know at least 12 people that we know personally in our families, at least 12 to 15 people that died. And we don't. No one does. Yes, people have died, but they've died the same as I've given you the figures, the numbers. Maths, numbers. Numbers do not lie. Numbers do not care about our feelings. Numbers are not conspiracy. So what do we have? We have posters like this around the country. Act like you've got it. I mean, how do you do that? If it's asymptomatic, you can be normal, nothing wrong with you. You can test positive, but you're fine. So how do you act? Do you act normal? Or do you now have to act like as if you can't breathe? Just like because you've got it. What are they asking you to do here? Anyone can spread it. Stick to the rules to stop the spread. Spread of what? So is this a pandemic or a damn panic? I'd like to offer you a little bit of nasiha about this pandemic, inshallah. It seems that the coronavirus situation is being exaggerated deliberately. You may arrive at a different conclusion. That's the conclusion I get from what I've shown you so far. And what I've shown you is just the tip of the iceberg. There's much more. I have left that out deliberately. I'm just giving you something to think about. As a result, small businesses and educational institutes, including madrasa, are being seriously impacted. They were closed since last year, March time, and they've never properly been opened since. So don't think that, oh, we've had the pandemic, the lockdown is lifted. It's never truly been lifted since March. If you think about it, it has never truly been lifted. It's been lifted conditionally, allowing certain things to be allowed and other things not. We have not operated a madrasa as we did prior to March since March. We have not. And people are aware of that. We have to now give reasons to allow children into the madrasa, that they're the children of frontline workers, or they're themselves vulnerable, etc., etc. We never had to do that before, which is actually excluding many of the children. So this is not proper. Treatments for other illnesses are being cancelled or delayed, and many people know this. Many treatments are being cancelled or delayed. People are dying as a result of that. People are dying as a result of that. We are being frightened into submission. That is my conclusion, my observation. We are being frightened to submission. This is classic psychology. And I'll go into this deeper maybe next time, inshallah, but I just want you to leave you with this thought. We are being frightened into submission. Act like you've got it. We need to ask the question, though, why? Why is this happening like this? Why is this strategy being put out? أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال لا يلدغ المؤمن من جحر واحد مرتين. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the believer is not stung twice from the same hole. Knowing now what we do about the dishonesty around the war on terror, we know it was dishonest. We know about Tony Blair. We know it was lies. This was an excuse to dominate the Muslim countries and subdue the people whilst plundering their resources. Are we going to be bitten from the same hole again? What do I mean by that? Aren't the same people now telling us there is a pandemic and placing control measures on us? Aren't they the same people? And they are. If you don't know that, do your research. The same people who are pulling the strings are telling us through the World Health Organization that there's a pandemic, and you can see the cracks in it, just as you could see the cracks in the whole war on terror narrative. Either the believer is not bitten from the same hole twice, as the hadith says, or if we're going to listen to these people and go with what they're saying and accept there's a pandemic, then the one bitten from the same hole twice is not a believer. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اتقوا فراسة المؤمن فإنه ينظر بنور الله ثم قرأ إن في ذلك لآيات للمتوسمين صدق الله العظيم. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, beware of the intuition, the firasa, the insight of the believer. Verily he sees with the light of Allah. Then the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam recited the verse, the ayah from the Quran. Verily in that are signs for those of discernment, those who can discern the truth from falsehood. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimullah said, it is a light, this firasa, this is a light that Allah Ta'ala bestows in the heart of his servant, by which the servant distinguishes between truth and falsehood, advantage and disadvantage, the honest and the liar. Acquiring this light is of fundamental importance in this day and age. This is what we need most. I'm not asking you don't have to go and research, don't have to go into these things if you don't want to. Khalas, alhamdulillah. But we do need to be aware. We do not need to be led like sheep. And in order to acquire this light, we have to get too close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to increase our iman, our taqwa. We have to increase our ibadah. Ramadan is coming, alhamdulillah. We need to do this now. We need to plan for Ramadan. We need to prepare for Ramadan. Don't prepare for Ramadan the night before. That's not the preparation of the mu'min. The mu'min prepares in Rajab, in Sha'ban, as Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has advised us to and shown us to. And we need to understand how to distinguish between the truth and falsehood in this day and age more than ever before. This is the day and age of Dajjal, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us. That is the age of mass deception. Mass deception, where a person will wake up with iman in the morning and by the evening he will have lost it. Or will he have iman at night and by the next morning he's lost it. That's how deceptive it will be. That's how much we'll be deluded. And the only hold we'll have on sanity and iman will be through this firasa, through this nur from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he bestows in the heart of his servant. And his servant is the one who is connected to Allah ta'ala. It is not everybody. It is not the entire Muslim world. I'm sorry to say. That is the reality. It is not the entire Muslim world. The reality is that it is the person who has got ta'alluq, connection with Allah ta'ala, through his or her ibadah, through his or her taqwa, through his or her divorcing the dunya removing themselves from the dunya and its temptations and its attractions and its distractions. And then that person has this focus, this nur from Allah Ta'ala, and Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will clarify for them what is going on. And that is all you need to do. Further to that, by all means research, by all means look into these matters. But the point is that unless we have this, that's why many people, even when they're shown evidence, they don't accept it. They don't accept it. And believe me, Muslim brothers and sisters, ulama, believe me, please, that the thing is, as you well know, when you do dawah to those who are not Muslim, and you tell them there's only one God, there is no son, daughter, father, mother, etc. There is only one, there are not hundreds. How is it that they don't want to listen to you? How do you feel then that they don't want to listen to you? What you're saying seems to be so simple and basic and logic, and you know it's the haqq, but they're not convinced. They won't come over to your side of the argument. Why not? Do you know how it makes you feel? This is how it's making us feel now. This is how it makes me feel when I present to you things, facts and figures and numbers, and there are people saying, we don't want to know. Why not? What harm is there? Follow your own principle. The principle is from Allah Ta'ala, the principle of truth. And if we are not following that principle, then we are astray in our deen and we are astray in our dunya. And the dunya will override us and take us to places we don't want to be. So please, I ask us all, please, listen to those who are giving you what is going on. Just give it some thought. And at most, as I say, the most important thing, increase your salah. Make the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially this dua. Make this dua. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'ahu wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinabah. Make this dua, please. Those who will have this recording, you can repeat it and you can learn the dua. Very simple. Means, Ya Allah, show me the truth as truth is and grant me to follow it. And Ya Allah, show me falsehood as falsehood is and grant me to stay away from it and protect me from it. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'ahu wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinabah. Just make that dua. And inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will help. Make it after every salah. Make it before you go to sleep. We need it in this day and age more than ever before. With all this confusion that's going on, we need to know what's going on. We need to be aware. I hope that that was of benefit to you, inshallah. And I wanted to present, as I say, a small amount to give everybody something to think about, inshallah.